Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this special webinar with our special guest, Dr. Vinie Kouamou. I'm your host. I'm Dr. Luria Founou. I'm very happy to have you here. We are going to start very soon, but we are going to give a bit of 2 minutes for others to join us. Meanwhile, we encourage you to let us know where you are coming from, your name, what you are doing in your life, whatever you want to share with us. We are really happy to know you more and learn about your story also, because we are here to share our knowledge, but we are also here to share or to learn from you. Thank you once more to be here. Thank you again, Vinny, for accepting this special invitation. Always, you're always there. Thank you so much. Yes, Vinny, welcome again. Thank you for accepting the invitation. You had some noise that I is okay. Do you hear me, Vinny?
Yes, I can hear you
Okay,
clearly.
okay, great. Okay, great. So we are reaching a bit of 2 minutes again, and I think we are going to share something with us. We have some slide. Can you introduce yourself while we are waiting for other people to join, because they can take us on the way. But those who are here, I'm sure they want to know about your story. Just a quick introduction before we
Uh,
dive in the project, in the topic of today.
Thank you so much. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. And thank you, Dr. Luria Founou, for inviting me here to come and share a little bit of my experience with all the others scientists connected here today. Um, just a little bit about myself. I'm Vinie Kouamou. I'm actually originally from Cameroon, and I study biochemistry for my undergraduate, and I obtained a bachelor degree in biochemistry, and I did continue with a master degree in biochemistry as well, still in Cameroon. So after my master degree, I actually moved from Cameroon to Zimbabwe, the country in Southern Africa. And then in Zimbabwe, when I got there, I also had to do another master in clinical biochemistry that other people call chemical pathology. So after my master degree in chemical pathology, I was much interested in molecular, particularly virology. So I actually remember for my master project, I actually did, that was like the first molecular project in the department. So I did a little bit of cervical cancer, looking at HPV and the molecular aspect of TP53 tumor suppressor gene. So after my master degree, and I knew I always wanted to pursue virology and molecular and things like that. So I had the opportunity to meet amazing people that became my mentor and supervisor, and I pursue a PhD in virology, particularly molecular virology or clinical virology, where I was looking a little bit on drug resistance, HIV drug resistance. So I did my PhD at the University of Zimbabwe. So I obtained my PhD. After obtaining my PhD, I applied for a G43 postdoctoral fellow. I got that one. So I did a postdoctoral for kind of like a year and a half or 2 years. So after that, I apply as well for the NIH African Academy of Science and APTI postdoctoral. So right now I'm at the NIH at Maryland, where I'm looking on continue research on HIV reservoir, understanding as well the dynamic of T cell lymphocyte towards HIV cure. So right now, this is the current study that I'm doing, and I'm excited to be here. I'm looking forward to sharing my little experience, and I'm also looking forward to also learning from all of you connected here, because I'm sure we are all scientists right now, and it's always good to learn from each other. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your introduction, Vinny. We can see that you have a wealth of experience with at least 2 NIH, one for the postdoc in Zimbabwe and one for the NIH APTA. That I think there are 10 people in Africa that have been selected for that one. and you are among the 10 people from the whole Africa. So you can imagine now Vinie is really scared about fellowship and competitive fellowship, because what she's not telling you is that she also won that was one for the whole world, but she took the one for the NIH. And she's so humble. So today she's going to share with us her tips about competitive fellowship, and I hope you will enjoy her experience. So Vinie, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let me try to share my slide. You know, in science, this is the most difficult things to do. But uh, I hope I will be able to. Just let me see if you can see my slide.
Yes. Can everyone see the slide? Yes, we have some thumbs. Yes, we have some thumbs. So I can see your slide. People can see your slide.
Okay. Once again, I think again I would like to thank you very much, Dr. Luria, for inviting me to share a little bit of my knowledge and my experience with other scientists. And thank you for all of you connected today to, to participate in this webinar. And I hope it's going to be really an exchange at the end. That is going to be really, I'm expecting, I would like to have a lot of questions, and I would like as well to learn from all of you connected here. Today, really, I know I would like to take it from everything that I'm going to share with you today, because I'm sure when we talk about competitive fellowship, there are different approaches, different way of getting, competitive fellowship. But today I chose to talk for my own experience, really, because I feel like all of us, we have different journey, we have different way of doing things. But I always feel like when you talk from your own experience, it's much better, and people kind of grasp a little bit the concept that you are trying to share with others. So I'm going to talk today about what it takes to win a competitive fellowship. So before even starting, I usually like this slide. Like, I always want people to keep a lot of things in mind. And then here sometime when I have this type of a webinar, I will actually have a lot of things that I will write, a lot of things that people have to keep in mind. But today, I guess I'm not really sure about the people who connected, but I assume we are much of the people who connected as scientists. Luria, maybe can we just ask in the group chat, like a little, if we can have a little bit information about the people that connected. If you can just say scientist, PhD, master, postdoctoral, that would be really important for me.
Yes, they hear you. So I think they hear someone is PhD student in TB, Stellenbosch, postdoc research fellow. So we still need for you to introduce yourself and tell us where you are listening to us and what you are currently doing. So they are writing it in the chat, Vinny.
Yeah, that would be great to know. Thank you.
I think you can continue, Vinny.
Okay. Okay. So I guess the majority, like you said, a postdoctoral student, PhD student, I guess
Yes.
maybe master student, maybe even undergraduate student. That would be also good to know, the pool of people who connected. Okay. So yeah, I would like to remind everyone about things that need to be kept in mind, really. And then one and the first thing that I usually talk about is, let's accept that writing is hard for everyone, really. I'm sure I'm not lying about that. It's like no one was born a good writer, but I know that is something that can be learned. It's something that with experience, every time that you do a little things, you gain experience. By gaining experience, you get confidence, you get a lot of, confidence to keep writing and become maybe better in every single day. So I would like everyone to keep in mind that, and I'm sure we do agree that writing is hard for everyone, but we can agree as well that good writing can be learned. And then the other important things that I would like people as well to keep in mind is that writing is a process, really. It's I call it's a journey, and it's like climbing the stairs, whereby you have to start by the first stair. So once you start by the first stair, it gives you that confidence that actually from step two, from step three, you can jump now up to step five. But I really, really, really feel like it's a process and it's a journey that we always start by that the smallest step, and I call it step one. And those step one you will understand in the along the webinar, along my presentation, what I mean by step one, step two, step three, until you get to that level. So guys, let's not put too much pressure. I know the scientific world is a competitive world, but let's keep in mind that sometimes we have to take a little bit easy and know that this is something that is a journey, is a process. We have to go step by step, gaining that confidence, gaining that way of building experience, building self-confidence to become better at what we do. So I hope everyone is clear about this slide. It's really, really important for me because when I say that, and also for my own experiences, I'm gonna share with you today, I also learn because and I guess maybe people who are connected here who know me a little bit know that I moved from a French country to an English speaking country. When I got in Zimbabwe, I actually didn't I couldn't even say anything in English, and guess what? And I had to start my master. I have to do my PhD, so it was very difficult to write in English because I used to think in French before even translating things into English. So, but fortunately, I had a very good team that taught me how to go through this different process, taught me actually how to write, and I also have to self-educate myself, taking some courses like we all do, Coursera, all these different courses sometimes that are free to learn how to do this. So I hope this is a little bit clear for everyone. And then when we talk about now writing, either is a competitive fellowship, grant, proposal, even manuscript, even paper. So I think a lot of people actually make mistake when it comes to writing, you know, and most of the time people make mistake because there's not planning. People don't plan ahead. And then people give themselves a lot of pressure because there's no that plan. Like people usually, there's just a call, like a call for a grant or an application. And then someone will just see like, oh, I saw this grant, I saw this call. Let me just write it in maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month. Really, 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 that's difficult to do. And then the likelihood to get something successful by doing that is actually very little. So I feel like writing either a fellowship, a grant, even a publication, even our thesis, even from a master or undergraduate, is something that we plan, right? That's why we do project in like 6 months or a year because it's a process. It's something that we plan. But I think a lot of people make mistake because usually call comes and people get that enthusiasm of that saying let's do that in less than a month, which is quite difficult. So I feel like the success tips to get a successful fellowship or grant is planning ahead. And when I talk about planning ahead, the planning ahead is divided usually into three different steps, where we call the pre-funding call, what you do during the funding call, and what even happened after you have submitted that call, either a fellowship, proposal, whatever you name it. So, and then in pre-fund, what I'm going to, don't worry, I'm going to talk a little bit about, I'm not going to get really deep into all the different steps, but I will give you a little bit tips, what I call pre-funding call, funding call, and after post-submission for my own experience, really. So in pre-funding call, what happened is this is the step where you have to know your potential funders, because obviously you can apply to anything if you don't even know the people that you will send your grant application to. So know your potential funders, and then sometime you also have to have a track, but depending on what level you are, that's why I wanted to know who are connected. Are they postdoctoral, PhD, master, undergraduate? But for postdoctoral or PhD, sometimes what is also important when you apply for some fellowship and grant is also the amount of small grant that you might have gotten in the past. So as I call track of small grant equal to big grant. As we say, money brings money. So this is why I call it at the beginning. It's a step whereby you guys don't ever minimize small grant, because I feel that's where we start. Usually when you see those big people who have acquired so many big grant, I promise you they never started by applying by big grant. I'm sure if you have to do a survey, maybe 95% of these people have gotten a lot of track of small grant, and then that's how they build their experience, they build their confidence, and they even build their resume. And so when I talk about small grant, these are even travel grant, these are equipment grant, these are poster presentation. When you just apply for this small grant, you make sure that you take care of those small grant nicely, that can be visible to everybody. So it's important. And then the third part of pre-funding call is also understanding what the reviewer are looking for, because this is the most important. Whatever grant that you're applying for, you have to know the potential funders, and you also have to understand what those reviewer or what those potential funders are looking for. I will get a little bit in detail with this one, but so this one is just like a general. So during the funding call now, what do you do? This is the time that now you write, you organize your team, you organize your idea, you organize everything that you need to put together for finalizing the call. So here, this is the time that you define your research niche, you define your idea, you define your research proposal, wherever we are, this is where you define what you think is worth being funded for, right? And this is still. Sorry, I hope everyone can still hear me.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So and this is the time as well, number 5, where you develop the relevant research question, because we know we are all scientists. There's always research question, but sometimes it's also important that you have to fill that research question. It has to be relevant as per the contest, or per the country where you are, is better, it has to be really relevant to a particular situation or context. And then number 6, Luria, there's something that is blocking number 6, but I can't see my mouse to move a little bit. I don't know if
Okay.
you can read it for me.
Write clearly and impactfully.
Okay, yeah. And then this is actually during also the writing process, whereby, like I say again, no one was born a writer, but it's something that can be learned. And we learn it. It's a process, it's experience. We even start by our master thesis, the way you write your master thesis. If you publish from your master thesis, this is from your master. If you have done a PhD, from PhD, you write your publication from publication. And I'm sure most of us doing master or even PhD, we apply for more grant. These are the different grant that those different experiences teach us how to write clearly and impactfully. And then it's actually also again during the funding call that you choose good collaborator. So good collaborator here can be your mentors, your supervisor, really those people that will be there for you, teaching you how to write, teaching you how to put things together. If you have to work with people, collaborator, meaning people that are not, that can help you to achieve some objective that you can achieve in your particular context. So that's the time that you can look for good collaborator. And I will give you the trick as I go by, how to actually look for good collaborator and mentor and supervisor, things like that. So, and number 8, during the funding call, you get feedback. Obviously, everything that you write is you, but you have to have feedback from different people, and usually it's from the team that you would have created, like your mentor, your supervisor, or even some friends that are also scientists like you. They can give you feedback. It's always good to have feedback. More feedback are even better than, making the proposal or the grant everything more crispy. And then the last step after applying for that call, this post submission. What happened after you have submitted? You planning ahead. You start thinking, if I get this grant, how am I going to manage? What am I supposed to do and stuff like that? And last step, be resilient. Let's be honest, like I say again, writing is difficult, really. And then the likelihood to get grants is very, 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 very less. So like I can't even put it percentage on it, but we all know from experience that it's a difficult process. But we have to be resilient. If things don't happen the way that we want it to happen, what do we do? Be resilient. You shouldn't just, we shouldn't just give up like that. There's always a way to modify the proposal. Understanding is even get better if you get feedback from the funders or reviewer. It makes it better for you to revise, getting more contest and more feedback from your team to apply for other grants. I always say to people, when it comes to publication, I always say a paper always finds a home. So a rejection doesn't mean a failure, right? A rejection is natural. It's natural. It's just people like you, other scientists like you, or even non-scientists that review either your fellowship application, your grant application, your manuscript submission, your thesis. And these are people like you who review it, maybe sometime might not even understand the depth of what you would have written, but you shouldn't take it as a failure. It's an opportunity for you to make it better, to modify it, to revise it, to apply for the next things. So as we come to know your potential funding sources, this is so important. And I'm not sure where people connect. Are people connecting? Are most of the people connect from Africa?
I
If I
think
can
so.
ask.
Yeah.
They can even, you guys, you can actually unmute if it's possible and you just tell me where you connect from. And I'm sure we have, some of us, we have the same experience. Guys, I'm listening to you.
There is Nadine from Cameroon. There is Catherine from Zimbabwe, Ribitsa from Zimbabwe, Christine from Cameroon,
Mm,
Pamela from Stellenbosch,
mhm.
Arnaud from Benin,
Okay.
and the others can now emit themselves and let us know they're
Yeah, I
joining.
mean, remember, we are all scientists. We are here to share experience, to learn from each other. So I love it to be that way. Anyone want to just unmute and tell me where the person is connecting from?
They wrote in the chat, Mihanda from Cameroon, Uvongai from Zimbabwe, I think.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so exactly. So we actually share the same experience because most of us are mostly from Zimbabwe, Cameroon,
Yeah.
Benin, South Africa, Stellenbosch. So definitely we share the common things. And one of the things as scientists, as students, sometimes
Sorry,
yes,
Albino Carolo from Tanzania.
Tanzania. Thank you so much, Albin. Good to hear from you. So definitely we share the same thing, right? When I say we share the same thing, we are connecting and we are students, we are scientists from Africa, Zimbabwe, Cameroon, South Africa, Benin, and all these other. So sometimes, most of the time when we are students or scientists, one of the things that we lack is not even knowing funding sources. It's so difficult, and this is the truth. it's so difficult to be stuck, having your project, having your proposal, having something that you want to achieve, but you don't know to who to write, right? We face this. And then sometimes you don't even know who to ask, who to, like, you don't know people to ask to. So I think this is something that is very challenging for most of us scientists coming from Africa, but there are a lot of limitless potential funding sources. And then I will explain as well in the next slide, how do we even know these things, right? Because sometimes as a student it's very difficult to know this, but this is just the example of some of the fundings that I put here, but the list is, doesn't stop. There are so many. I put here the NIH because I'm a little bit familiar with this one. There's a Wellcome Trust, and I'm sure Dr. Luria here connected. She has a lot of experience with the Wellcome Trust. Unfortunately, I never applied for any grant from the Wellcome Trust. There's a Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. The fellowship that I am right now, actually my third and fourth year, is actually covered by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. There are fundings like National Kidney Foundation, NIH Fogachi, HIV Research Trust Scholarship, Global Virus Network, Novartis, American Cancer Society, American Heart Association, even the L'Oreal, UNESCO for Women in Science that was celebrating 15 years last week, that I was actually part of the panel. So what I mean in this slide is that we have to know, so potential, you have to know your potential funding sources. When I say you have to know your potential funding sources, you have to know the funding sources that I'm applying to. Is it a national? Is it an international? Is it an institutional? Is it a specific disciplinary? Is it interdisciplinary? So all these things you have to know, right? Because you you have to know them to apply to them. You have to know what they want, right? So I will just take an example. Like I say, I'm going to speak from my own experience. So maybe some of these the grant that I put here are some that are much familiar because I've applied for most of the grant here. But obviously you have to know the area that you are working right in. My area, maybe for my PhD, I was working on HIV drug resistance. For my postdoctoral, I'm still working on HIV, but in a different area, right? So during my PhD example, my PhD was not fully funded, right? I had, I guess, like, I can't even remember correctly, but I think I have 4 or 5 or 6 objectives. But 2 or 3 objectives were covered, but the last 3 or 4 objectives were not covered. And then I started asking myself, so how will I even be able to complete this objective if I don't even have the resources that I need? So, and I heard from someone that there was someone in my department who actually, a doctor, who had applied for the HIV Research Trust Scholarship. And then she told me, when I talked to her, she told me that no, there is an HIV Research Trust Scholarship that deal particularly with HIV specific area or specific question. So here already I know that when I say know your potential funding sources, I knew already that actually HIV Research Trust actually funds everything that is related with the HIV. And then I was in an HIV area or domain, and then I was like, oh yeah, maybe this is a good opportunity to try, right? So this is what I mean by knowing your potential funding sources, knowing the funding sources, knowing in what area or specific area they fund. You know, is it area specific? Is it domain specific? Is it interdisciplinary? So you have to know this thing. And then I applied for actually NIH, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, HIV Research Trust. I applied for DVN, Global Viral Network. I applied for Novartis. I've applied for Women in Science. I applied for Fogachi D43. So, but in the process, I have to ask, right? I have to ask. I have to make sure that my supervisor and mentors are involved. I have to read the website of the different potential funding source to know What do they fund? What specific area do they fund? What do they want? You have to know all these things. And how do we know this? You can't know this if you don't ask. You can't know this if you are not connected. You can't know this if you don't have the right people around you to guide you or to show you that you can do this right. So as I see again, I will talk from my own experience. You have to know your team. You have to ask around you. You have to knock at the door, because sometimes we limit ourselves. We say, no, like a lot of people, we say, I'm working from a sub-Saharan Africa. I'm working from a resources limited setting, how people usually put. But you work from a resource limited setting, but from your own individual self, what do you do to improve that, right? And then you have to ask around. I feel like you have to ask around. You have to knock at the door. You have to know your team. You have to ask this thing to be able to know the different potential funding. So for me, this is again an example, and this is I actually this is the first time that I applied for the Novartis. I think during maybe my master or my PhD. So I heard I couldn't. I think it was actually my master. I couldn't finish my master project because I didn't have the funds. So I heard that there's this Switzerland company that actually funds young master or PhD student. You can go to Switzerland and spend 3 months or 4 months to do your project. You can actually bring your sample, you do all your lab work, and they can even help you with analysis and stuff. And then by that time, there was someone who I was in Zimbabwe, of course, and I heard about someone who had applied for this scholarship. And then I knew her, but not that much. But I remember email her that, please, I heard that you got this application. Can you just help me? I would like to apply for the same things. And you know me, I just ask for everything, because I feel like sometimes when if I find someone who got something, I feel like this is a true example that I can actually use most of the thing that she uses, or the way she uses, to be able to improve my chance of getting this scholarship. And I remember asking to this person who actually became my best friend right now, that, please, I need I just want to see your cover letter. I just want to see how you put your proposal application, for me to have like an exemplary for me to do myself. And this might be actually 2016 or 15. And I remember she sent me, and I applied for this, and I got this. So this is just an example. Another example, the HIV Research Trust Scholarship that I talk about. I remember as well during my PhD, like I say, not all of my objectives were covered. And I heard from this person that Dr. Rachel Manjishora from Zimbabwe, another amazing scientist who is actually here in the US. I heard that she applied for the HIV Research Trust Scholarship. Trust me, this scholarship is a very difficult. I mean, I can't remember how much they give, but not even that much. When I said not even that much, not even millions or 50,000, I can't remember, maybe 25 or 24, 21,000. I can't remember all this. That was quite some time ago. But it's quite, the process is quite hard. And there's a lot of document that you have to put together, and there's a lot of collaboration that they want to know. They want to know if you know this and stuff like that. So I remember sending an email to this Dr. Rachel, and I say, please, Rachel, I heard that you got this scholarship. I want to apply for the same things to be able to do my third or fourth objective of my PhD, because I don't have the funding. So please, can you just, spare some time to see me and explain to me how you went about these things? And if you don't mind as well, I would like to have all the document that you send there, so that again I have like an example of something to put my slide together. And I remember she, like you can see on this, she sent me all her document, and then she said all the best. And then I use this document, obviously, with the support of my mentors and supervisor. And I remember getting this. So, like I said, this is what I mean by ask around you, knock at the door. Let's not be like in particularly in Africa, and we are always scared of making that step. This is wrong. Let's stop this behavior and attitude. Let's knock at the door. If we know someone who has done something, go towards that person. Ask, email. So you will always get information because of information are always out there. It's now how the strategy that you use to get that information that we put you, different from other people. So this is another one that I got. I think Luria was actually talking about that. This is the Global Via Network that I got some time ago. So this is actually a very challenging fellowship because actually they won one postdoctoral around the world. But I didn't get it because I'm smart or anything like that. I don't think so. I'm sure there were amazing thousands of applications that were much better than mine. However, I just knew the team that I was working with because for this global virus network that do this fellowship in association with the Abbott. So my mentor is part of the DVN in Zimbabwe, and another mentor, like you can see, Prof Maponga, one of the greatest professor in Zimbabwe, was also part of it. So I say to them, please, I'm trying, and I remember one day, Prof. Maponga actually said to me, like in this email, Dr. Vinie, my wish is that you receive one of these awards one day. And then I was like, oh, Prof, you know what? I will try the next call. So obviously from there, I was already preparing that if a next call come, I will do it. So it's that step that you point out the potential fundings, you prepare yourself to get to that fundings, right? And then I remember I did this, I prepared for a lot of months. And then one of the things when I say know your team is also so important, know the people that you work with. So I remember this Prof. Maponga, I asked him to write for me a letter of recommendation. And I asked also my mentor, a supervisor, to write the letter of recommendation for me. And then I got this. And I don't think that I got this because I was the brightest, but I think because of the way I prepare and the type of people that I have to support my application. So the last example is this current fellowship that I am, that is actually funded by the NIH, by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and by the Africa Academic of Science, whereby they select maybe 10 people in Africa. But I still also think that it's not because we are the brightest that we got this type of things. It's also because of the group that we have around us and the support, the way we planned to apply. So knock at the door, ask around, and know your team. And I remember in Zimbabwe, I once asked to this Tokozile Masha is one of an amazing PhD student in Zimbabwe who actually managed grant. So she had a list of people that she usually send, grant opportunity. And then I once saw her, I said, please, I'm doing my PhD and stuff. I would like to apply sometime for grant and stuff. Can you just add me to the list of the funding opportunity that usually you send out there? She said, oh, no, that's fine. And I remember this current scholarship that I got, she was the one who sent this funding fellowship opportunity. I once saw that. And then at the same moment, my mentor also had sent that on LinkedIn. And then when I saw it, I said, oh, might be that a good opportunity. And I apply, obviously, with the support of your team, the support of people that you know, by asking around and by being present in such things. So that's why I believe that these things are not really, you don't have to be that much bright or something. You just have to know how to work smartly by asking, by knocking, by knowing the team that you have around you to put together and and apply for it. Again, the last one is there's something to my right again was kind of blocking. But I know coming from Africa, usually people say, oh, why we don't have supervisor, we don't have mentor, we don't have people that can teach us how to do things. Obviously, I agree with you. This thing is true. This isn't right. But again, what do we do, right? Is you always start by somewhere. You always start by sowing. You build your team from scratch, right? Either choosing a mentor, either a supervisor, either knowing people around. But I always believe that if you ask, because I believe that there are always information out there, and I believe that if you ask, if you knock the door, if you know your team, you will always make it through. This is an example of my mentor right now, who's like my supervisor, my mentor. This is the first email I wrote to him on LinkedIn, and you can see actually on this email. This is in 2016, right before I started my PhD. He was in Stanford, and then obviously I heard so much about him in Zimbabwe. He was like one of these greatest guy working on HIV drug resistance. And then I had just finished my master. I was like, oh, I want to do a PhD. I want to do also HIV and stuff. And then I just remember in 2016 just writing, going on LinkedIn and see, Dr. Hi, Justin. I trust you are well. I heard so much about you. I'm Vinie, working with Bavini. I just graduated in chemical pathology. I heard that you were coming to Zim. Take good care. That was my first message. And then obviously I always feel like people will always answer, really. I know people say we don't. These people, these great people, big people are busy, but I don't believe. If you ask, you knock, you will always get. And then in answer, he answered, and then this is how I connected with him. And today is like the greatest mentor ever that I ever had. And yeah, so this is just, it was just to share my experience a little bit with you, how to know this thing, how to knock, how to ask around, because informations are always out there, really. It's up to us to know where to ask, how to ask, where to knock, and know the team, really. And then lastly, again, I put also choose good collaborator, because depending on the step that you are, sometimes you may need to have collaborator. You have to ask, you have to know. And one of the things that I want to say to all of us connected here today, and something that I call the American style, we have to adopt the American style, where we have to value our own contribution. Every single thing that you are working on right now, to all of you connected here, know that that thing is unique, and that this is your unique and specific contribution to health, to science, to everything. Don't underestimate what you are doing. I think Americans are very good with that, and sometimes you may think that they are arrogant. And I feel like, because this is the little experience that I've gotten since I've been here, is that it's actually rare to see, student calling supervisor professor. We call each other here by our first name. And then, because it's that confidence that you even give to the younger one, the master undergraduate student, they value their unique contribution, to the point that you can actually stay. You are a professor, you are in the same room with your mentee or student. The mentee can actually completely argue with you, because they get that confidence that, their contribution is unique. They are also, as much as they are learning from you, they are also contributing in whatever you are doing. So I think this is something that we have to learn, coming, because I come from Cameroon, and being also in Zimbabwe for so many years. I know sometimes we always feel like we can't do things when we compare to the European, the Western world, that they might be smarter. It is nothing like that. I always feel like they have much exposure to a lot of things, maybe equipment, grant and stuff. But in terms of knowledge, in terms of things, I don't think there's any difference. So from today, it's important, really, even from today, the way that you will write either your proposal, your grant, your fellowship, looking for collaborator, you have to make sure and always be confident that whatever you are doing is unique, and you are contributing in your little way. And then So choosing a good collaborator also, when you go to people, you have to make sure that you value your unique contribution. You tell them that, okay, I'm doing this, but I would like you to do this part of my project, right? And I say that, and it's important also because when now you start applying for bigger grant, usually also the type of collaborator that you have is important because they have to see that. They have to see that you have collaborated with this and that, and then you guys have achieved this and that. It's actually a very key point in as you grow into your scientific journey. And so you have to have these people that value your also unique contribution, that support your career development, that will be able to share also their network with you. This is just an example. This is an email that I sent last week. So because right now I'm working in a very different area of HIV reservoir cure immunology. I did a lot of virology, but now I'm a lot into immunology. So there's a lot of things that I learned, but despite the fact that I'm in a new area, it doesn't mean that I don't have anything to contribute, right? So because of it on a trip that I'm going to do to Canada in some time. And so I heard that this professor Nicolas from Montreal, Canada, is one of like the greatest professor when it comes to HIV reservoir connected to immunology. And I say, oh, okay, why? Let me not, like I say, ask, knock, you never know. So I sent him this email actually last week. I remember Sunday. And I say to him, oh, dear Nicola, I'm just a postdoctoral. Not I'm just, okay, rectification. Because when you say I'm just, it's like you don't value your unique contribution. So in this email, I tried to tell him that I'm doing something, also that is, even if I know myself, I'm new in this area, but I know that whatever I'm doing is a unique contribution. So I say to him, I'm this one, I'm at NIH, my research focus is on this and that and that. I heard a lot about you and stuff. And really, really, I will be in Canada, but I will really, really want to meet you so that we can see if we can even collaborate, or I can learn from you, or maybe you may learn from me. You never know. And guess what? This is a guy which is like the busiest guy in this domain, right? And then if you come from maybe Africa, you will think that, oh no, this guy, these people, we can't send them email, they can't even read your email. But when you get that idea that you also have something that you want to share with others, having that unique contribution, it puts you at that step and space that you can do that with confidence. And guess what? And he replied. So you see, he replied, even if it take a little bit of time, but he did reply and say, yeah, Vinie, that would be kind to even meet you, and I can even meet you in my lab, and then we can discuss. So this is just an example to say, really, there are a lot of opportunity there. There are a lot of people who do great things. You can ask, you can knock. Don't be scared. Don't be shy to knowing that you are contributing on your own. But if you need support and guidance, there are also other people who are doing things that can help you. And along the way, you build your own experience, right? Like I say, writing is very, very, very difficult. We agree with this. It's competitive, but it can be done, right? It's a step where you build your own experience. Building your own experience, start by, don't ever underestimate small grant. Really, if you are here and then you say to yourself, oh yeah, I'm going to apply for Welcome Trust tomorrow, let me tell you, this is wrong, because I always feel it starts small. It starts small and it's gradually you get there. So small grant fellowship, don't ever underestimate this thing. Track record of you have to track the record of your small grant, travel grant, equipment grant, short-term grant. All these things are important because you build your CV, you build your reputation, you build your own experience. And it's by building this that you actually build your own experience. So let me tell you, actually, as I say again, I'm going to speak from my own experience. I remember my first ever grant that I got was in Zimbabwe, the National AIDS Cancer Grant, that I got it during during a um, during a research. I can't recall a national competition where people come and present different their research project and stuff. And I recall that grant was, I think, $400. But for me, that was a big deal. for me, that was a really, really big deal to get my first $400 who actually helped me and, buying some stuff for doing my PhD, you know. And this after that, I was like, oh, I can get this. The next thing, even if it's the next thing, I started applying for a lot of travel grant to go for conferences because this is how you build your own experience, really. We don't get to that stage without starting by the first step, the second, the third, right? So from there, I was like, oh, this is possible. So I started applying for travel grant. To be honest, I can't even count the number of conferences that I've attended and all the full scholarship that I've always gotten. So I have really, like we say, a record of a lot of small grant, travel grant, conferences grant, and this is how you build your own experience and build. So when it's good that you, like I say, you gain experience, you gain confidence, you establish your ability to obtain bigger grant, you build as well a positive reputation because it's just like publication, right? You always start by one and then like an example again, during my PhD, I never had any publication. Well, I had one for my master, but well, during PhD, I didn't have anything. I was like, oh, wow. And then my mentors and everyone had like 40, 50, and even more. I was like, how do we even get to so many publications? And yet I'm a PhD, I don't even have one. But when I started getting my first publication and then you build that experience and confidence, then I ended up having like, oh, in less than 3 years, right now, I might be, well, I don't remember, I can't remember how many, but I might be like 30 or 36. I was like, wow. So this thing can be done. So I guess we start small and like I say again, start small, you gain experience, you gain confidence, you establish your ability to obtain bigger one, you build a positive reputation, and then oops. And that's how you make yourself, you apply for bigger grant. I can't actually read this one. There's something at my right who's blocking, but I guess I put bigger, you get bigger
Bigger
grant
grant.
equals small, maybe record, small track record grant, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So, and to do that, also keep oneself at the cutting edge of science because you can apply when you don't know your research question, right? You don't know your research niche. You have to I know we say to younger people that social media is bad, but I feel like we live in an area whereby we actually benefit more from social media than so. Keep yourself at the cutting edge of science, but subscribe to journal, how to read journal article, podcast. I'm a podcast lover. I subscribe to all these podcasts. Really, what's my favorite is the 12th one, This Week in Virology, TED Talk, Virology Education, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And I remember actually Dr. Luria and myself, I think we actually connected for the first time on LinkedIn, right?
Yes.
If I remember clearly. So this is, and much of the opportunity that I had came from LinkedIn. So sometimes I know people may think that social media is bad, but it depends how you use. But I always feel like this is actually we are living in an area whereby we actually get ourselves more educated at the cutting edge of science by being sometime, subscribe to these things and be really connected to all what is going on. Um yeah, the most important now, you knock at the door, you form your team, you know your potential funders. Obviously, you have to have an idea, right? When you have an idea already of the potential funder that you need, what they want, you go on their website, you read, you follow instruction. Oh my God. I think this is actually one of the reasons why people usually don't get either paper published, either fellowship, either travel. People have difficult time to read and follow instruction. And Luria can actually, she can agree to this. We were reviewing the application for our African Women in Science, And then I can't tell you how many applications were dismissed because of people just not following instructions. She even knows better than me because she was actually the main person in doing all these things. Do you agree with me, Luria? Like,
I agree. That's I think they put it also consciously so that they remove a lot of people just like that.
yeah, instruction is just so key for everything that you're applying. When you have identified your potential funders, when you go on the website to read, please read the instructions. Sometimes we say write this thing in 250 words. Why would you want to write something in more than that? Or if they say minimum, like it actually one of our experience again. They say write this one in minimum 50 words and maximum 200. And someone write in 10. Like I always say, don't you have enough to prove that you really want these things? Don't you have enough things or enough word to say to convince that you really want something like that? So yeah, that was just an example to say sometimes we don't get things because we actually don't read and we don't read instruction. So going back to you have identified your potential funders, you have identified what they want, and then now you have gotten maybe into their website to read their instruction. In this step now, you have to think about what you want to apply for, right? Obviously, we always have an idea. Think about an idea. When you think about an idea, what happened? That sometimes is the idea. They say sometimes it might be novel, but remember, novel doesn't always mean that something that they've never been heard of, right? It can be something that someone has done, but no one has done into your context. Different, you bring in new flavor maybe to something that is known, right? So these ideas sometimes they usually say should be supported by prior research. You have to address a significant problem. Obviously, you have to be innovative, create a new knowledge. Most important, consistent with the funder's priority. That's why the first step is knowing your potential funders. You have to know their priority. Like I took the example when I was saying HIV research trust, I knew they wanted things that they made that are, related to HIV. If I take this one, I want this, I know that this need this type of thing. If it's not my area, don't even bother to apply. Like if I'm working in virology on HIV, why will I go ahead and look for something that is American Cancer or American Heart Association scholarship? Well, I mean that's really wasting my time, right? You have to be specific. When you think about your idea, you have to make sure that your idea is this and particularly is consistent with the funder's priority. I guess we all agree with this. And then if you are already at that level where we think about your research or your niche, your area that you define, and your postdoctoral that is going to be like your career definition, how are you unique? What will you bring extra? Remember, really, even reviewer have a tough time. Do you know how many people apply for different things? Really, that's why I say it's very competitive. It's very a lot of people apply. So you have to distinguish yourself, right? Because this reviewer will be like, they will be read tons of applications, same application, a lot of application. But sometimes if you just follow their priority, when you define your idea, you have to feel your idea really. It's like your life. What is unique about you? And always remember when you apply as well, what like I say, what is unique that you bring to them as well, because as much as you're applying to get something, you also have to develop that confidence that as you are getting money from there, you are also bringing something to them, something to the world, something to your area, something to the context, something to your country. So don't underestimate your research. So always have that, develop that attitude from now on, that you are also bringing something unique, right? It's once you start thinking about that, you make now your idea, your research very special. And those type of things and disposition help you to also be unique about your particular application, right? When I talk about think about your idea, it should be finer. Also, when you apply, it should be feasible, right? We don't want you to say, oh, well, I think I'm actually going through the same thing right now at NIH. I'm doing so many things, but I know when I go back to Zimbabwe, it's gonna be so difficult because obviously there's a lot of equipment there, a lot of equipment that at NIH that I might not get access to, that might not even exist. So I have to think about if when I come back, how the project that I have to write to Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for them to sponsor me, I have to make sure that it's feasible in my context. So I have to switch my mind. So when you apply, it's by making sure that whatever you say you are going to do, can you do it? Really? Don't be just so fancy and just read things and say, yeah. So as per your own context, can you do it? Is it feasible? Is it interesting? Does it feel a gap that need to be filled? Really? Do you think that there's a problem that need to be addressed? Is it novel? How is it, specific or different from anything that ever be, that was heard before? Is it ethical as well? Obviously, we are dealing with humans, so making sure that you always work in an ethical disposition. Is it relevant? Does it matter to health? Does it matter to the field? Does it matter to the society? Does it matter to the people that are infected or people that are living with a particular situation in your context? So always remember about this when you apply for, when you have that idea that you have to apply for either a grant or a fellowship. And again, this is where people always think writing is so difficult. But writing actually, like I say, is something that can be learned and it's a process. And why am I saying that? Because we are so good to procrastinate and be so lazy, then trying to always do things at the last minute and put a lot of pressure on ourselves. But once you start understanding that writing is actually a process that you don't have to sit on your chair the same day and do every single things, you will start to appreciate even when you write your manuscript, when you write fellowship, when you write grant application, you will like to appreciate that it's something that can be divided into 3 different steps. We call the first step the pre-writing, which actually take much of your time. At this level, actually, you are not yet in front of your computer. Please, let me tell you this. Pre-writing, 70%. Writing, 10% only. Listening, writing, 10% only. Revision of what you have written, 20%. So what am I saying by pre-writing? Pre-writing is the time where you brainstorm away from your computer. You have identified that research idea. Then you try to say, okay, you try to even make with your supervisor, mentor, scientist, like, is it something that can be done and stuff? Here you gather and organize information, all the things that you need if you have to do it. So the 70% is the most critical part where you organize, you brainstorm, you organize, you gather information that you need. When you have all these things, you come to the writing part that actually take 10% because you would have already gathered and organized all the information that you would have needed, right? So at writing, you put your idea together in a very organized prompt. And this is the first draft. And remember, the first draft is not a draft that you get everything done or correct. It's just to write everything together. So that's why writing actually just take 10% when everything has been organized already. And revision, now when you send other people after getting rid of the clutter, I can't read the other things because again the thing is blocking me. But the revision part is 20%. Really, let's stop doing things at the last minute. Whatever we are doing, if it's a paper, travel, let's plan it. And then from there, you will actually start enjoying writing manuscript, enjoying writing fellowship, enjoying writing grad because you don't put a lot of pressure. You organize steps and this is how it's really done. And I think, like I always say, the best tip of making writing easier is break your writing task into small and realistic goals. You can't today, you're like, okay, today I'm working on this, tomorrow I'm working on this, the next day I'm working on this. Not trying to get every single things at the same time. This is how you always think that only genius people get things done. That's not true. Or get grants or big grant or whatever. Everyone can get it. It's just demand planning, become working with a plan without putting too much pressure on yourself and having a good support team, right? Um, yeah, just an example. My goal today is to write the first paragraph of this and that. And it's just, I mean, writing a grant, writing a fellowship is just like the small things that you do every single day. Just like I will just take an example of writing a paper or a manuscript, because from there I will maybe take it as the smallest things. Can anybody connected here will tell me that he had ever written a paper, everything, like just at once like that? This lie, I'll be saying you are a genius. Any now, I actually, you guys, I will give you the flow to discuss and tell me, how do you write? Let's even take with manuscript for people who have written already manuscript. How do you write a manuscript, and how do you kind of make it successful or publishable? Luria, I missed that by you, maybe.
That's funny. I was going to say, tell people to open the mic and or raise the hand.
Yeah,
So
anyone can share. I mean,
my writing my manuscript. Oh my actually my grants I do like you say, I brainstorm everything in my mind or I scratch it somewhere in the paper
mm-hmm,
and started thinking if I'm going to do it or if what I'm thinking is in line with what the funder wants.
mm-hmm,
And once I'm a bit sure, then I'd have a rough draft really with the title and kind of background, objective,
mm-hmm,
hypothesis, and research question only. And then
mm-hmm,
I share it with to my collaborators.
mm-hmm,
And based on their own view, I can now write the other component of the project.
mm-hmm.
That is the revision part. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else? I mean, if you have never written anything, even if it's only a publication or even a thesis, tell us how you do it. I would like to hear from someone connected. I mean, we learn from each other every single day.
Yeah, almost 30. Yeah, I think someone can raise a hand or write in the chat if you want.
Yeah, sure. Guys, here we are all the same. We are scientists. Let's just discuss. There's nothing wrong, there's nothing right. I think if you have a style, that's why writing is also, I don't know if I mentioned maybe later on, writing is also telling a story, right? It's a
Yeah.
style that you develop. So I don't think there's nothing wrong, nothing right. Yeah.
Maybe they are thinking. So let's say, or someone raised the hand. Julian, yes, Julian, you
Yeah,
want
Julian,
to?
we wanna hear from you, please.
Julian, can you introduce yourself and try to answer the question? You are still muted.
Yeah, hello. I'm Julian. I'm following from Germany. Yeah, thank you for this really nice presentation and insightful, comment and helpful, by the way. How I write my paper is nearly as you have just explained. The first thing I do is to have a scope. Once I have the scope, I try to add bullet point of
Mm-hmm.
the idea I want to develop in each section.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the next step.
Mm-hmm.
And then around each bullet point, I try to write a small story of 2 or 3 sentences.
Mm-hmm.
Then in the fourth part, I try to connect all this so that it's consistent, logical,
Mm-hmm.
and in a coherent story.
Mm-hmm.
And, and as you said, at the end, the initial draft, it's maybe 30% of what I'm submitting. So I sometimes at a certain point, I start really rewriting some of the things that I thought it was okay, because after reading, I say, oh, what have I read in here? It doesn't make sense at all. So I have to rewrite it. And at the end, I have only 30% of my initial draft in the final output. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I like it. I mean, I like the way you're doing, because that's definitely the way I do as well, particularly when it comes to manuscript writing. So this is amazing. And then you will see that you actually follow kind of like everything that I say, like writing, having a small and realistic goal, putting together, drafting, revising, and all these things. I love it, Gillian. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else? Maybe the last one before we continue. I think I'm about to finish as well. Anyone would like, or if no one, I can just continue.
Can you ask again the question, Vinie? Some people didn't hear the question.
Oh no, I was saying, does anyone would like to share also what his experience on how they write, if they've ever written a grant or fellowship or travel grant or manuscript or thesis, how do they do kind of that? Yes, please.
Adios.
Yes, please, Dr. Adios.
Okay, good evening. Are you listening to me?
Yes, Dr. Adios.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. I'm Radius Melon from the University of Bamenda in Cameroon. I'm currently a postdoctoral fellow at the University of Brussels as RS postdoc, and I'm a candidate for RF and MSc fellowship. I'm very glad and thank you for this opportunity you offer us to share our experience together and maybe improve the capacity of other scientist colleagues. For me, when I want to work, for example, something like take the case of a grant. I first start by, depending on the type of the grant. For example, there are some grants where they already give the title, the subtitle, the different part of the grant. So I take the template and then I underline every title in red color or in yellow color, in red color. That means that that means that I've not yet filled this part. And then when I do it, the next step for me is to find first why problem I would like to solve. What is the problem that I want to solve? Is the problem I want to solve is fitting with the objective of the grant? If it is yes, I say okay. If yes, I can continue. Now, if the problem I want to solve is fitting with the objective of the grant, I'd say okay, now I'm a good candidate for the grant. I'm looking with my collaborator. If my collaborator have the facility and the capacity to support a grant, to accept me as a host for the fellowship. If yes, also I will go through directly to the collaborator and then we'll start to discuss together. Now, the things that I'm focused of my main objective, the goals of my project, that's the part that always starts. The goals, the main objective, followed by a specific objective, and then research question and hypothesis. Usually the methodology are always the same. And then when I finish, I suppose at that time that I already performed the literature review for my proposal. This means that before I write the objective, I already have an idea of what I want to investigate. I already perform the state of the art. What have you already done? What I'm expected to do to fill the gap between what is already reported in literature and what it should be done. So after the step of state of the art, I can go through the methodology and then look if my methodology is innovative. What I'm thinking, which method I will use to solve the problem. What's the innovative? What's the new things that I use that are not previously done? What's the innovation? Should they all of us are thinking about intelligence, artificial intelligence. So that sometimes we have tried to include artificial intelligence to solve our problem, or to solve, for example, for us, a chemist, to solve the problem of pollution or ecological aspect of the project. And then finally, when I finish, I can go through an abstract or a summary of my project and conclude with a title will give an idea, will summarize an impact of what I want to perform in my research project. So that's how I'm processing when I'm trying to write something like a grant. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rajas. Thank you so much for sharing your experience and how you do things. This is amazing. I mean, we always have a lot to learn from each other, and this definitely is something that I guess a lot of people that apply for grants and fellowship actually also follow this.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay. No,
Vinie,
yeah.
we have someone connected in the chat. Is Stella, Stella.
Okay.
She's thanking you for the insightful presentation, and she's following us from Cameroon. She's holder of a master's degree in biochemistry. She said that actually she hasn't written a paper yet. However, her master's thesis, she set simple and achievable goals for each day. Generally, she starts by writing a complete draft of the document, trying to insert the subsection for each one point. After that, she sent it for an initial revision. Once it is validated, she gets into the work proper, and at the end, she makes sure to write something each day, no matter how small it is. That way, she found herself completing the work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stella.
Thank you, Stella. That's great, and that's definitely the way of doing it, so that you don't put a lot of pressure on you. So for you, Stella, who's actually writing a manuscript, I'm not sure, because these things sometimes are not really standard. But for my personal experience, do you know that? And I would like actually people to comment, like if they do things a bit different for me. For me, actually, when I write a manuscript, I always start by the methods, because usually the methods are not really related to the other part, because I know the method can be also, individually, right? Like even if I'm not yet done with my project and stuff, but I know the method that I've used to achieve. So I usually make sure that I do my method section first. For my method section, I go to the result. If now the results are available, I do the result section, whereby I don't even write anything. I present first the table, the figures, and I put a little story. Like I don't know if it's Dr. Rajias or the first doctor who spoke.
Julian.
Yeah, Dr. Gillian, exactly. Gillian say, I also do that in the method section, in the result section. I put my graph, I put my table, I kind of define like a little story for my graph, for the trend that I'm seeing, the association, the things, before I actually get it now, the writing. And from there, after my method, my result section, from the result section, I can either go to discussion or introduction. However, do you know the last thing that I do in manuscript writing? I don't know if everyone is like me, is actually the title. Because, yeah.
I was about to say the abstract, but it's the same.
Yeah, the abstract and then the title. For me, I know a lot of people always start by the title and start right. I know a lot of people actually start the title and the introduction and then the method, and then it's like, for me is different. The title is fit the whole story that I would have said, and then I go now to the title and say, okay, what title actually deserves the whole story? Yeah, maybe I'm weird or different, but yeah, that's how I do. But thank you so much. Thank you, Gillian. Thank you, Dr. Rajas, and thank you, Stella, and everyone for sharing. And I think I have maybe two last slides so that maybe we can discuss also. And then again, why?
Yeah, Vinie, you can close up the presentation so that we can discuss like 30 minutes again.
Exactly. So maybe let me just quickly draft this. Why drafting? You always remember what's your story, step away, come back, be direct and precise. And again, what is good writing? You have to feel it's a story. Like a lot of people, we agree here, is communicate an idea clearly and effectively. Whenever you write, stop and ask yourself, is my writing informing or scaring me? Am I feeling my writing? Because you have to feel your writing to make sure that the reviewer will also feel your writing. And again, complex idea do not require complex language. Let me stop these people who always do. I think biostatistician, sometimes bioinformatician as well is a very good. Like, oh, this is so complicated. No, you can't understand. I always feel like a good writing, whatever you are doing, should be said in a very simple way, clearly and effectively. So scientific writing, remember, a lot of people write, a lot of reviewer will be, reviewing a lot. So making sure that it's easy and enjoyable. Tell a great story, just the way you talk about your favorite movie. So lastly, I think, yeah, preparing grant fellowship is all this. Have a relevant research question, have a great team, clear and concise writing matters, read and follow instruction of the potential funders, organization matters, get feedback from your writing, and be resilient. Make your application easy to read and enjoyable to read. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vinie, for the wonderful presentation again and for sharing all your experience. I can see that you put all your energy, all your words of idea, everything you had together because you really want people to get what it's like to have to go through this journey and to understand what it's like to progress in academia or to win this kind of grant. So it's not starting from just on the top. You mentioned that it starts from the small little grants, and then you need to have a strategic approach. You need to be prepared. You need to be prepared before the writing, during the writing, after the submission. You also need to have right support and then to work smartly. Thank you again very, very much. I'm very grateful. I think we can now open the floor to other people who would like to ask some question to you. So can you share, either you ask in the Q&A, either you raise your hand. Okay, I can see a hand raised. I don't know.
Well, we are all scientists. We can talk to each other. We can learn from each other here.
Unfortunately, the person doesn't have the name. I can't say the name. Is the person who has raised the hand that hasn't put the name. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Ola.
I'm Dr. Augustin Kamdi Uyanovi.
Hello, Dr.
I'm following from Cameroon. Yeah. I have my intervention has two parts. The first part is about writing a manuscript or writing my own experience. I want to share my own experience.
Okay.
Concerning grants writing, a proposal for a call for a grant for a fellowship. For me, what I started to do when I finished my PhD was to write a whole proposal. My majors are immunology, hematology, and toxicology. So I wrote a whole proposal, a part concerning virology, a part concerning cancer, a part concerning infectious disease, all of that associated with medicinal plants. And now, when I want to apply to a call or to a fellowship, the test I will select inside this whole project will be function of what the funders need and what the host lab can support. I mean that in my project, the funders should meet my own benefits and the benefits of my host. Yes. And during when I exchange with my host, when I search for a host lab, I'm very, very fast in responding to his or to her email, because when you respond very late, you are all suppose that you are not very interested. Yes. Yes, it's true. When you respond when you give your answer to a mail, maybe 2 or 3 days after his or her mail, the person will consider you as a person who just want to play to have a fun time, and he will put you very far away. This is my own contribution concerning proposal writing. So I have a whole project, and inside this whole project, I can choose. I select some text, some essay in function of what I want to put, what funders need, and what will give benefit to me and to my home. The second part of my intervention is a question.
Okay.
A question. I want to thank you before all the facilitators, because I learned a lot. Last year I applied to Schlumberger postdoctoral fellowship. I applied with NIH, but unfortunately I fell. I fell at the level of interview. I want to have some tips how to do a good interview. What should be my posture? What should be my answers? What do they want from us when they are interview us? Please excuse my English.
No,
I'm
don't worry.
a French speaker.
Don't worry, I'm a
So
French
my
speaker
English
too.
is not very fluent, but I try to improve myself.
It's amazing, let me tell you that. I'm French speaking too, so.
I wish. Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you, Dr. Ola.
Yes, I need tips, advice on how to conduct how to do a good interview.
Yeah. Okay.
Because until date I don't know where I fell.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. No, thank you so much, Dr. Ola. I will tell you a little bit of what I know in my experience, but the flow is open to everyone connected. Either Dr. Faria connected here, Dr. Rayus, Julian, even Dr. Luria. Everyone can like I say, we are here to share. But for me, in terms of interview, Dr. Ola, I feel like at the interview level, there are still quite a lot of people that will be chosen, and some that will be not chosen, as we can say. But again, I feel like at the interview level, actually, what will actually distinguish yourself from others will be also that authenticity and the uniqueness that you will bring to the interview. Again, as I'm saying that, is that because today people, you even get question from interview on internet, right? Like we always know that interview comes by present yourself, how you're going to contribute, why did you choose this, and whatever. So everyone knows that. And even the reviewer and everyone that will be on the table know that they will hear a lot of the same things, right? They will hear a lot of, I'm here, I've done this, this is what they keep hearing. However, the only little things that I can tell you that I also learned from experience is don't always bring that uniqueness part about you and make the interview so natural, because there's just this thing that we pick during interview on someone who have just read other interview or whatever. which is usually different from someone speaking from authenticity or natural. Just be yourself. Really, otherwise, maybe other we say something else, because a lot of interview people always say the same thing. But what is this about you? And what is it importantly also about the uniqueness in whatever you will bring to this that is really specific for you, really, about your contribution. Maybe we can hear from others with their experience as well.
Thank you, Vinny. Before we take others, can you just stop sharing your screen first?
Yes.
And I think it was not Dr. Ola, it's someone, Dr. Besong, I think I heard, if I'm correct.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Please, Vinny, can you stop sharing your screen so that
Oh, sorry.
So yeah, thank you, Dr. Besong, again for the contribution and for joining us. If I can add to what Vinny said about the authenticity, is something that is really true. And just that at the interview stage, they still need to make decisions. So the difference is really sometimes 0.5. It's sometimes so tiny that it's not just your fault. It's not up to you. And they have to take on some drawback that are not necessarily related to your interview per se. Because me, I went to Welcome Trust interview, and I wasn't successful. I received a lot of questions. I felt that I answered all the questions, that they were really convinced. But then they went back to my project, so they found some small weaknesses in my team, and they said that they haven't seen how my team or my mentor are going to propel me in my career. That's the whole thing that they say. So you see that sometimes it's not even due to you. It's just that they have to analyze every single thing, and they have to mark across all the application, and they will base their differentiation based on just small detail. And this, when you have feedback like me, I had this feedback, it helped me to now make sure that I put everything together. Like Vinny said, you have to really be prepared and make sure that your team and everything you say in your application is also well structured. Is also everything is aligned and go together with your application. It's not just the project, but it's everything, including you, including your vision, everything together. That's the most difficult thing, and that's the thing that we always forget, to make everything aligned. And when I say everything, it's not just your application, your CV. It's also what you show up or show off to the world, like in social media. If you say something your application, then you see outside, you don't see anything else related to that. They feel like you're not authentic. So because I always notice that when I apply, I've always have a lot of view on my LinkedIn profile. All the time I submit something and know that the reviewer are coming to check, everyone is coming to check. Because also you have to make sure that everything is in your application, and also what is in your social media account and everywhere is all the same thing. When they see something not related, they will relate to that and then write it. It's finished. But that's why we are sharing these things so that people also have more chance. Because I think in the Western world they are more prepared. They are really more prepared, and then they know this like from the first year of high school. They already know how to write this kind of thing, and they are preparing their branding also. Thank you. I don't know if someone want to comment on this question, because you have two questions that were posted in the chat. If someone want to comment.
If yeah.
Okay.
We have a lot of doctors in the room, so I'm sure they have more experience and they can actually teach us some stuff, and
So Love asked in the chat, if you don't have an article in a new research topic, what can you do to have a chance to get a grant?
If you don't have an article, so like I say, we have, like, we don't start by big grants sometimes. There are small grants sometimes don't look into this law. So there are little grant, like the first my first 2-3 grant didn't really ask me to have anything. So I guess you start by there, you start by those small grants, you accumulate, like I say again, because the record of those small grants are actually very big deal When someone we see, oh, she got this, she attended this, you attended this, you always start by, like I say, it's a step. Don't jump. The problem is that people put too much pressure because they want to apply for a bigger things. Start little and then build that own experience, build your journey, build your story. Start by attending conferences. If you're a master student or even a PhD student, how many conferences did you attend? Because those conferences are also important. Write things with your thesis. Put an abstract, attend the conferences, put that together, because your abstract that you will be presenting at the conferences are usually put in the conferences publication book. And then you can use this one and accumulate this one and build that resume to apply for more and more and more and more, right?
Okay, thank you, Vinie.
Mhm.
We have Dr. Fahi. Hi, we say, I don't know if I say it well, so I'm sorry if I didn't say it wrong. Can you comment on the use of AI in writing scientific papers and grant application?
Thank you, Dr. Fari. Personally, you know, depend. Well, how can I say? Well, I will start. I will start by the fact that today, actually, a lot of journal actually authorizing the use of AI, but you have to acknowledge it. And to be honest, I actually working with a professor from Stanford, one of the greatest professors that I would have ever known that he actually used AI. He actually told me that he used AI as well to make things better. But you see, the difference is that when it comes to AI, you have to have your own idea. You have to write first, and then you can go to AI and say, okay, make this sentence better. Because seriously speaking, with this professor, we have used AI for some of our publication. Not that we go on AI, we say write HIV drug resistance, right? We have a lot of things written already. We go on AI and say, okay, let's please help us to make this sentence a little bit easier, readable in an easy way. So I think this is how I feel like AI could be used, you know. Well, I mean, everyone can share his own idea, but I have been using with some of my collaborator, but yeah, that's how we use it. We don't ask him to do things for us. We ask him to help us, just like the way we use dictionary, the way we use. That's how I feel like using AI become much better and but anyone can share his own experience in this.
Totally agree with you. Thank you again, Dr. Faria, for the question. I think it was a kind of trap, but and I agree that a lot of journal are putting online that you have to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
And also grants like funding agency. I've noticed that even European Union has put it together in their grant now. That when you use it, you should make sure that you correct everything, that everything is correct. You shouldn't use it like you say, just take it out, and you should always have human view of it on it and correct it. And like you say, even from French speaker or those who does not have English like mother or main language, they have to use AI to help them make the language or statement being improved. And we have AI tools that are not ChatGPT, because when they say AI, people are just seeing ChatGPT. We have AI tools that are really grammatical tool to improve your writing and make you write better or in English way. I think that's why I can comment on the question. Thank you. Do someone want to add something else to this question before we move to the next question?
And guys, and remember, there are always tools to detect people who use AI to get their stuff done. Actually, so let's keep in mind. Let's keep in mind. You will get caught.
Yeah, that's true. So please feel free to still ask your question in the chat. We are still like 10 minutes ago. We are moving in 10 minutes. But we have Vanessa Nya from Cameroon, I think. She has a PhD in plant science. She asks, please let me know how to be sure that our research idea is feasible, particularly when there is a part that has not yet been done.
Okay. So thank you. Was it Laura who asked this question?
Vanessa.
Vanessa. Okay. So this is like she says she's in plant medicine, right? And
Plant
then
science.
plant science, okay. And she want to undertake an objective that have never been done. Is that the question?
Vanessa, do you want to elaborate, like open your mic and elaborate, or do you want me to repeat again? Because maybe Vinie want more better understanding of what you say. I can see you, Vanessa.
Good afternoon to everyone.
Good afternoon, Vanessa.
Okay, thank you. My question is to know exactly, because sometimes we have some ideas regarding all what is in the literature review, and we get something that that's not done exactly or completely, and we don't know if from the reviewers they would think as us that it can be feasible. That's my question, to how to be sure that our idea can be feasible. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, no, thank you so much. I got it rightly. So I think in terms of feasible, right? So you definitely have something that you want to try, right? And then you do know the method that you want to use to try that objective, right? So if you have the method, that means that if you know the method, it means that you know the equipment that need to be used, you know the reagent that need to be used, or you want to test actually some reagent that have never been tested for this particular thing that you want to achieve. However, always ensure that whatever you want to achieve, do you have the necessary to achieve that objective? So do you have, if it's something that you want to test with a particular equipment, do you have that equipment? If it's a reagent, will you be able to assess that reagent? I mean, obviously the reagent might be not where you are. You might need to buy it from I don't know, like a company in the US, in the UK. Sometimes it can be also difficult to acquire some very rare reagent. How easy it is for you to get that reagent from that place to your country? Do you have equipment? So the reviewer look into all these things, right? So this is what we call the feasibility. Will you be able to achieve? Will you be able to have everything that you need to have to achieve that objective? I think sometime when the reviewer, I think like Dr. Ola, sometimes maybe that's a thing that they even during the interview or later on they look at, oh, this one says she want to do this one. She's in this area. Does she have this thing? Will she be able to achieve this? Because you can achieve something maybe in 10 years or in 5 years, something that can be achievable maybe in less than 6 months in a very equipped setting. This is things that you have to look into when you apply. It's just the example that I took right now. I'm doing a lot of things with HIV reservoir and stuff, just so many things. When I go back, seriously, I definitely know that this is not going to be feasible, because already the sorting machine that I'm using to separate all the different cells is just definitely crazy. I know that if I want to get an objective like that, when I go back to Africa, I know this is definitely not feasible. And if I even try to put that in my proposal, it's gonna cost me. So I have to look for another way or another different objective. I think this is answering the feasibility part of your question, Vanessa. I'm not sure if I answer properly, but this is how I feel it. Anyone can maybe jump into, maybe to give their experience.
Thank you, Vinie. I don't know if Marie-Christine, Dr. Rajas, do you want to comment on this question, or do you have your own question?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Luria. Just to comment on the clarification that we asked if we don't have an article in the new research topic, because our little bit still research is not at the time to contribute. So I want to say something about if you don't have an article, I want to give a contribution about this question. If you don't have an article in a new research topic, how to have a chance to get a grant. You should first of all understand that when you apply the grant, suppose that we give the grants to those who have the skill, the background, the capacity to implement and success the grant. It's not always requested that you should have an article in the innovative topics. It's the innovative topics, the topics that you are suggest innovative to implement it. So it is not mandatory to have an article in that field or that topics. Your previous background or previous publication that you already performed can help you during your application. The most important thing is to show her to rely your background, your previous publication with the topic that you are supposed to implement. So you should just show that you are the best candidate to implement the innovative topic that you are supposed to, you apply for a grant. For example, I've seen that the lady who acts is a biochemist, or for us in natural product chemist. For example, when you are working on a plant metabolite, it can happen that you say, okay, I have a good score publication, a good record on plant metabolite isolation or biological activities evaluation. And then now I'm thinking that the best thing for me to have a grant maybe is to apply for microorganism, just to show that maybe for microbial metabolite, they have a possibility to have something more interesting. I have to show that I have the skill, the capacity due to my previous publication. I'm able to implement, to perform the isolation and evaluation of biological potential. So it's not mandatory that I should have an article, publication in the innovative topics. I can rely my previous publication to the new topics, just to show that I have the capacity, I have the skill to implement and develop the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Adams, for your contribution. And maybe something that I may also add is, like I say, any grant always comes with its instruction as well, right? There are some grants that we tell you specifically for this one, you have to have like a prerequisite and knowledge. And if that prerequisite knowledge can be what Dr. Radis is talking about, maybe you had done something already in that area that you can prove, either with your master thesis or whatever that you can have, or even a supervisor can sometimes write a letter of recommendation stuff to show that you have done that. And so just read the instruction and making sure that whatever you have are in line with your findings. Yeah.
Good.
Thank you again, Dr. Rajus.
Welcome.
Okay, for the question of Vanessa now about the feasibility, if I may add something, is that feasibility, like Vinie says, like a practical stuff that you're going to do. You already know what, if you do this thing, it's going to take me 6 months or 3 months. So you also have to think about the time, because if you have a project of 1 year, and that you are planning to do an experiment of 2 years, because you know, and the person who is going to review also knows that it's 2 years of this experiment, or 6 months for one step and then 6 months for another step. We tell you that this is not feasible for the time delineated for the funder. You can do it for your whole life, but try to do something that come in within the funder,
that's true,
like feasibility time frame that it provides you. So that is what I can also add to that. If you don't have another question, we have Dr. Rajesh, you still have your hand raised. Is it an old hand or a new one?
No, it's okay. It's okay. Nothing else to say. It's okay. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Marie-Christine, who has a hand raised.
Yes. Hello, everyone.
Hello, Marie-Christine. We can hear you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vinie, for all the knowledge and the advice. I think my take-home message for me would be to build my portfolio of small grants. I am Marie-Christine. I am a PhD student at the University of Boya. I'm in microbiology. So I would like your take on 2 points. First of all, you talk about the planification in writing a grant. So I would like to know, like on average, what could be the time that we take for a grant writing, I know that it depends on each and everyone's skills, but on average, what would you say would be a good time frame to be working on writing a grant? And
Okay.
then the second point will be you are from Cameroon, so you know our realities. So in case where we don't have a, let me say, very supportive or a supervisory team that is implicated into our own work, how can we work around that for grant application?
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Marie Christine. Yes, these are great questions. Personally speaking, for the first question, how long we will plan? For me, at least 6 months. So I'm sure it depends, like you say. I know Luria prepare even for years. I'm sure you prepare your welcome to us for at least a year, right? But for me, it usually take me like 6 months, because what I do is that I usually get information actually the previous year, right? Not actually the same year that I want to write, right? I gather first information, I gather the type of fundings that I want. I ask around, like I show you at the beginning, who has done this? Is there any new help that I can have from people that I were actually successful of getting this grant? Or I gather my team and stuff. So when I have all these things, I can start planning. So really, it takes me like at least six months to a year. But depending again, when it comes to small grant, to be honest, small grant, I've applied small grant for maybe in maybe 3 months time, really. Because sometimes, like the Luria UNESCO grant that they won, I think 10 people in Africa, that Luria UNESCO grant that I got, I did it in 3 months, really. I saw the advert, and then I just started putting things together. And then I apply every single things in 3 months. But bigger grant like Welcome Trust, NIH grant that you really is per, how do they call, per calendar. You have to really, like, you have to be knowing this thing 1 year before, and making sure that you take the whole year and you apply for the next round, as they call. Yeah. But again, all these things depend, like you said. Yeah. But this is my sharing in this. And then the second, this is actually very hard. Your second question, for me, I feel like this is the most difficult things that a student can ever go to, having a supervisor that is not supportive. I wouldn't even know how to start thinking about this, but because I know a lot of people, a lot of my friends in Zimbabwe who had the same thing, to the point that some had to cut off the supervisor and got into trouble with the defense and stuff. Yeah, that's I wouldn't even know what to tell you if you have a supervisor. Maybe the first thing, maybe try to understand why the supervisor is not supportive. Is the supervisor too busy? Or is it the area that you're working is not the area of the supervisor? So there are just too many things that can come into play. So for some people that I know from my own experience, the supervisor was kind of like jealous of the student. It can happen where the supervisor is actually jealous of the success of his own student. Others don't have time, to the point that they don't ever give feedback to the student because they don't have time. Others, so I don't know if you have a way. I don't know if this has happened to you right now. Who asked this question? Was it Marie? Yeah, Marie Christine. I don't know if this one is happening to you right now, is happening to a friend of yours, but maybe sometimes try to understand why is this, because a mentor or a supervisor is supposed to really support you, as is the norm, but try to understand why. Is he a busy person that doesn't have time? Or do you have any idea? Because it's very difficult to go against, and we are in Africa, it's very difficult to go against our own supervisor, because these are the people that can make your life a hell, really. Like, yeah, maybe try to understand first that supervisor. If you have another supervisor, maybe talk more to the other supervisor, right? And I hope in this case that supervisor that is not supportive is not the main supervisor that had to sign every single thing before you move ahead. So really, I don't know. I don't think there's anything standard that I can tell you here right now. Ada can comment on this one.
Thank you, Vinny. I think we can debate for this one. It will, yeah, we never finish because I think I won't say anything because I haven't been in the position. I don't know if it's what my question is experiencing currently. And
Yeah.
you can reach out maybe later on inbox to have maybe some thought or some guidance because I can't comment it that me. I really feel that is that some people who like just to not help people. Like they felt like you want to take their place and they don't want you to take their place. And like you say, like they
Yeah.
are jealous or this kind of thing. But like maybe, like you say, you have to do an analysis. But what are you going to do then if he's the main
Yeah.
supervisor? The last thing is just to run away and not in the country, run out of the country. It's like, because if you run in the country, it's not going to change anything. Maybe you have to run out of the country. That's the latest thing because if you stay in the country with the same person, then you don't progress. So you are losing something also, you're losing your own soul. That's me, I can say, because I can say that if you feel uncomfortable because the person is so supportive, that means maybe in your research also you're not progressing well. So how are you going to manage if it's the person who has your destiny at the end? So it's like it's difficult to answer this question. And I hope it's not what you're experiencing, it's just that it's an hypothetical question. I really hope it's not a question. I hope. And for the time frame of the writing, yeah, like Vinny said, if it's a big, like over 200, when it's already 200,000 or 100,000 pound or whatever you want, it's sometimes at least 6 months that you write. And Vinny, I will surprise you, for my welcome, I wrote it for in 2 months actually.
Really? Okay, I didn't know that.
but I stopped everything else. I was not leaving, I was just writing it. So
That was good.
yes, and then when you get yours, maybe when you have a sample of project already, you can now do that in 3 months, maybe. But for some, like one I did, even for some, you have 3 months is not enough. For some, 3 months is really short. Even when you increase the amount of money, become it become more and more difficult. So yeah, that's what I can say. It's like, sometimes for some it's like 1 year because one supervisor told me that it's 1 year because you have to do everything and then you have to share to people and then because people are busy, it takes you a year. And because you want to win, you have to pass through this process. So otherwise you are not going to survive. So my question is saying that it's unfortunately her situation now and she's looking for a way to work around that. That's really tough, my question. I'm very sorry about that. And I think you can reach out to Vinny or myself. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, definitely, Michael. We can talk about that of the because I didn't want to share a lot of things. I never been in that situation. Fortunately, I always have been supportive, amazing, greatest mentors. But I know a lot of people close by me that have been and they took some radical decision. Yeah.
I think even me, I think I've seen people in South Africa experiencing this kind of situation, and sometimes they have to change the supervisor and start from scratch with another supervisor, and they have to make sure they made sure to go to another supervisor who was much powerful than the first one.
Exactly.
Because when you want to go, you have to go to someone powerful that the person cannot come again to fight with you.
Exactly.
So they move like this way, and then they start everything from scratch. Their PhD of master to now they run away from the supervisor because the person was really toxic and not supportive at all. And just to move from the sadness to another better part of it, Brandon, that has is shared in the chat a good question, just a translation. How to identify an appropriate mentor or research supervisor to collaborate or to support on your application. I think it's a nice transition because I think we cannot know where we are going to meet. And Vinny is going to tell us her own experience. How do you make sure that you have the right collaborator or supervisor?
That's a good question because speaking from experience, I always see like when I started my PhD, I put 10 different rules that a lot of PhD students also in Zimbabwe follow. And the first rule was making sure that you get yourself a nice, amazing supervisor and mentor. And how do we go about that? So for me, I always feel like, from my own experience, you start first by the area that you are working on, right? You identify your area that you work on, once you identify your area, you look around you in your institution, at the university, or even out of the university. What are the people that they work also in that area and that are very, very, very relevant? So you start studying people, right? So you look at the people that work in that area that you are working on. Do they, what reputation? Because people have, if you are a scientist, you have reputation, really. This thing don't lie. If you're a scientist, you have a reputation. You know people, you know that, oh, that man, oh my gosh. If it's your supervisor, you will never, ever defend. You know that, oh, that other man, oh, he will connect you to this. That other man is amazing. You ask around, because these are the things that we know. We know people. Every scientist has a reputation. So from there, if you have identified your area, identify people, like I say again at the beginning, knock, ask, write email. Like I showed you at the beginning, my mentor will become the greatest mentor ever. I sent him an email and message on LinkedIn for the first time when he was at Stanford University, and he came back and he was working in my area. He had a very good reputation in South Africa, in America as well, and that's how he accepted to mentor me. And that's it. That's from my own experience. These are the different 3 tips that I can tell you. Identify your area, identify someone who's working in that area, investigate on the reputation of that person, approach that person, and see where it takes you.
Okay, Vinie, I'll just ask another question from that question that you said. Just like assuming that you did all the analysis that you just explained us, but just that people are not going to tell you the truth about the reputation. They will say, okay, he's a good supervisor. They will tell you like the other way around, because they don't want to also to be like exposed that they say something wrong about the person. And then you get inside, you realize that you are trapped now. Or assuming they tell you everything is correct, but still, what will you do to make sure that this is the right person have to go if you have different application or different person in front of you?
Listen, the reputation, you are not getting that question from that person you are looking for. The reputation you are getting from people. You are getting from the publication that he has. You are getting from the comment that he gave. You are getting from people around that person. You ask what, even the student, if he's a professor, you get this thing from student. Like, how is that professor? How does he mark? How does he? So obviously you don't get a reputation. Who will come in front of you and telling you that I'm great, I'm this and that and that, unless you are an American. That's why I call Americans are very straightforward with their stuff. But that reputation, you get that around that person, not to that person. Obviously, it can happen that actually all the reputation that you get from that person is great. But once you get in, things are not great anymore. From there now, this become difficult. How do you do? But however, what I can say also from my own experience, I always make sure that I have different supervisors or different mentors, right? And for me, it was actually much easier because I was dealing with different sub things. When I say I was dealing with virology, clinical, bioinformatics and stuff. So I have supervisors that actually were, could help me in all this area. So I don't rely in one person. I think if it was the case for Marie-Christine, if you have different supervisor now, if something like that happened with the supervisor who does that, you have other supervisor that you can actually, confine into and tell them that this is what is happening with the other supervisor. This thing usually happen when you have only one person that does everything for you before moving to the next step. I know a lot of people say having a lot of supervisors are not great, but for me, I feel like having at least 3 is an amazing number to deal with all these other things that we have talked about. Thanks.
Thank you so much. We have been talking for 2 hours. I think it's a lot. I don't know even if you are not tired. I don't know. I hope it was helpful to everyone. Someone asked if you are going to share the slide. Another asked if they can reach out to you for further guidance.
Oh, of course. I would like people to reach out to me so that I learn from them as well. I'm just one of those who always learn from others, who enjoy learning. So the slide, definitely, I don't have any problem with that. You have the slide already, Dr. Luria. So this is, yeah.
Okay, just that the slide will be shared to those who have registered. Those that are not registered will not be able to share the slide or the recording. Okay. And we have the final question from Dr. Karel. Spike, I will ask, how could I know that this supervisor could be my mentor?
Okay, so like again, nature doesn't lie, really. Like nature doesn't lie. When you get when you have a supervisor who start already connecting you to different things that are your beyond your thesis, because normally this is how we differentiate supervisor from mentor, right? Supervisor usually limit itself to them, to that particular project or things that you have. Mentor get more than that. They do more than that. Those are the ones that if there's any scholarship, oh, apply for this, help you to do that. If there's you need a collaborator, oh, I know this one from this university, connect you to this. They get into your life to the point that sometimes they become even family. So because I feel personally, I feel like nature doesn't lie. If you have someone like that who actually is interested in all different section of your life, who's not necessarily only the project, these are just the sign that okay, this one is someone who can actually see you going to growing into that career that you can rely to and call mentor, because not everyone actually I think actually mentorship is a gift though. Not everyone want to care about other things that you do that is not only your that is only your project. So yeah.
Thank you, Vinny. If I can say something, I think at the end of the day, we all have a sixth sense, like intuition. You all have intuition. You all have like a faith, or you have gut feeling. So at the end of the day, you know if your gut is telling you that this is someone I should connect, like this is someone who can mentor me, and you're not going to necessarily to ask the person to be your mentor, because sometimes people think that you're going to ask, can you be my mentor? No, the person is doing his thing, and then you realize that he's acting as a mentor. And then
Exactly.
you acknowledge, you take him as a mentor, and then you feel like this is my mentor, and I
Exactly.
do whatever he's telling me to do. And sometimes the mentor is not also the person you're connecting with. Sometimes you can have someone really far, or like at the TV or the YouTube, I don't know, in the book, who is like the way the person is writing is inspiring you, for instance, to write better, or the way a person is thinking is also inspiring you to think like the person. So there are all type of mentors, and sometimes there are also mentors like a peer mentors, because we always look like mentors like senior, but you also have mentors who are like peer, they're at the same level like you,
Yeah.
but then they have some expertise that you miss, so they complement you, and vice versa. So they are not so far from you, but still they complement you. So mentorship is everywhere, but you also have to feel that is your intuition at the end of the day.
Mm.
We differentiate who is the good, who is the bad, and sometimes we be home, but it's life experience also. Because when you come out from the journey where you are, you realize that okay, this is what I should have made before, or this is what I shouldn't want to become. And you try now to change it also in your own way of behaving with people.
Yeah.
Wow, that was a powerful discussion. I couldn't believe that we talked for 2 hours long. So thank you all for joining, for taking time to
Thank you,
listen
everybody.
to Vinnie. Thank you, Vinnie, for the presentation and for your time, for answering all your questions so freely. We hope you enjoy. We hope you learn. At least we learn from you. We learn from your own experience, like Julian, Dr. Rajus, and all your questions also help us realize what we should do also to be better in our own way. Thank you so much again, and take care wherever you are. Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye bye. Bye.